I want to start this episode in a small, somewhat rural part of southwest Missouri. It's where Jim Heater grew up in the 1950s.
It was 1,001 people. That's what the population sign said when we lived there.
There wasn't a lot to do, so one of the really vivid memories Jim has is just going out on a hot summer night and looking up at the sky.
My family would lay out in the backyard on a big blanket and look at the stars. That was our entertainment.
To be fair, the 1950s was a particularly thrilling time for stargazing because it was the start of the space race.
Today, a new moon is in the sky, a 23-inch metal sphere placed in orbit by a Russian rocket.
I remember when Sputnik was launched, you could actually see it. You could just see it go over.
Now it is time to take longer strides. Time for this nation to take a clearly leading role in space achievement, which in many ways may hold the key to our future on Earth.
In 10 years, we land people on the moon. Think about that. Isn't that remarkable?
Jim was mesmerized by the whole spectacle, which is why he was so thrilled when, around age 9, he found the perfect summer treat, shaped just like a rocket ship, the Bomb Pop popsicle.
I was actually a big Bomb Pop fan. I had no idea who made them, of course. I just thought Bomb Pops were pretty cool.
Jim loved the way each stacked section was its own vibrant shade of red, white, and blue. It's 3 distinct flavors, cherry, lime, and blue raspberry, in that order. And then there was the shape. Huge, pointed at the top, with fins. Just like the aircraft he was watching in the sky.
3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff! Liftoff, Americans return to space.
Hey, I'm Mackenzie Martin. This is the People's History of Kansas City, and on this episode, we're getting to the bottom of the most patriotic popsicle on the planet. Invented in Kansas City 71 years ago.
It's popsicle! Yes, it's delicious popsicle. It's America's #1 treat, sold by ice cream stores everywhere.
The Bomb Pop is ubiquitous at every ice cream truck and public pool snack bar. It's the icy cold treat you reach for every 4th of July. The culprit of millions of stained tongues. And it's selling a very specific brand of nostalgic Americana.
Do you know what this wonderful country is made of? It's made up of 100 different kind of people, but they're all American.
As the United States celebrates its 250th birthday, how exactly did the Bomb Pop become one of the most definitive icons of American patriotism? It turns out its backstory isn't entirely sweet. The creation of the Bomb Pop starts in the 1940s with 2 men in Memphis, Tennessee. First, I want to tell you about Durant Doc Abernethy.
Doc was a problem solver and a people pleaser.
This is Doc's son, Rick.
He would look at any problem that he was faced and turn it on its head.
Doc loved beautiful things. Flowers, birds, poetry. He'd regularly recite his favorite quotes from philosophers like Ralph Waldo Emerson. He was also quite the salesman.
Oh, he could tell a story. He said he would kind of go around the tapestry of truth. I could always tell when he was embellishing.
For 2 years, Doc was an engineering student at the University of Illinois. Then in 1941, the U.S. entered World War II.
Hawaii's bright Sunday becomes a black Sunday. High overhead, Jap raiders are on the loose. Without warning, they circle Pearl Harbor and the city of Honolulu. A surprise attack born of infamy.
All across the country, men enlisted in the military or were drafted. Doc had severe asthma, so he couldn't serve, but he found his own way to help out. He started building airplanes for a factory in Memphis.
They were building the B-25s, the B-26 Marauder, and the B-29 Superfortress, which was the actual planes that dropped the atomic bombs.
Also living in Memphis at that time was Jim Merritt, a 30-something businessman and graduate of William Jewell College.
You know, to me, he was just this great big, tall, dark, handsome guy with a great big smile and, white teeth.
This is Jim's daughter, Patricia Lear.
Hugely charismatic, hugely charming. He would have his suits made in Hong Kong.
Jim was the kind of guy everyone took notice of when he entered a room.
All their friends sort of gravitated towards him.
Unlike Doc, Jim did serve in World War II.
He was a navigator, and he flew so many missions, bombing the Germans and whoever else needed to be bombed back then.
Jim retired as a major in the U.S. Army Air Corps and received the Distinguished Flying Cross, in addition to several air medals and battle stars.
I grew up always hearing about the war, which I thought was the most boring thing ever.
Of course, looking back now, Patricia realizes how it helped shape Jim's career. I mean, after fighting in an actual war, drawing up an overly ambitious business plan doesn't feel all that dangerous.
He was just a go-getter. I mean, he was incredible. He was always taking risks, starting companies and stuff like that.
After the war, Jim made a big pivot, and he went into the ice cream business with the Southern Ice Cream Company in Memphis. And his timing was impeccable. See, in the early 20th century, most people bought their ice cream from street vendors or at their local soda fountain.
Hey, how about an ice cream soda?
Then in the 1930s, the home refrigerator opened the freezer door to cartons of ice cream that you could keep at home.
Ho, ho, ho! Nobody makes ice cream like Borden.
By the middle of the century, U.S. ice cream consumption reached an astonishing 537 million gallons a year. That's according to Laura B. Weiss, author of Ice Cream, A Global History.
The baby boomers came along, and that enormously mushroomed the audience for ice cream.
Seeing an opportunity, Doc Abernethy joined Jim Merritt at the Southern Ice Cream Company, where they became fast friends. Together, they produced tangy cartons of orange, pineapple, and lime sherbet, and premium pints of rich, creamy Duncan Hines ice cream, plus a few one-of-a-kind delights, like the Bonanza Bar.
It was actually a half of banana dropped into ice milk ice cream. And I'm telling you what, that was the greatest tasting ice cream bar you ever ate.
Doc told a reporter once that he ate 32 Bonanza bars his first day on the job. But let me tell you, Memphis was a hot market for cold treats.
So they decided that they're going to open another Southern Ice Cream Company up in Kansas City. And James S. Merritt and my dad came up here.
Of course, Kansas City was no cakewalk either.
There were so many dairies around making their own ice cream. So they came up with an idea. They said, look, let's sell the packaging ice cream part of the business, and we're not going to make ice cream anymore in the tubs.
So the duo changed their name to James S. Merritt Company, which later became Merritt Foods, and they went all in on ice cream bars, novelties, and popsicles, which in the 1950s was this growing, newer part of the ice cream industry. It was the golden age of the good humor man driving down the street in his white truck.
Made a special way so it melts slow, drips less, lasts longer. Try No Drip Good Humor.
One of the most popular novelties back then was the Eskimo Pie, America's first chocolate-covered ice cream bar, invented in Ohio in 1921.
Creamy, delicious ice cream, made even more exciting with smooth, rich chocolate coating.
You won't find it under that name anymore, though. It was renamed Edie's Pie a few years ago for obvious reasons. But interestingly enough, there is a Kansas City connection. The chocolate coating came from our very own Russell Stover chocolates. The Eskimo Pie was such a hit that a year later, Good Humor replicated it with their very own version. Maybe you've heard of it? It's called the Klondike Bar.
Ice cream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. Ah! Ah!
By 1951, packaged ice cream accounted for almost a third of U.S. ice cream sales. Doc and Jim decided they would specialize in weirder, more exotic treats. And theirs were going to be way bigger than all of those other puny popsicles on the market.
They said, well, we need to get more profitability. We need to get the price up. Popsicles for a nickel is not helping us.
First, they had to figure out what customers wanted. And not just any customers, their target demographic. You know, the people most interested in buying ice cream from a truck.
Doc would come to a sixth grade class or something and bring pictures, and say, Now tell me, which one do you like? Guess what's the number one thing they look for?
Color?
Color. Red. If it's red, sweet, and cold, they like it.
Doc and Jim were always trying to come up with ways to stand out. Like in 1958, when the Kansas City Star reported on Jim's new plan to use up leftover popsicle sticks.
You buy an ice cream bar. You lick it, melt it down, wear it out. What's left? Only the small, flat wooden stick that was in the middle of the frozen goodie. Now, what to do with that flat wooden stick?
What they did was put little notches in the sticks. The idea being that kids could finish their treat and then use the sticks to build things, like Lincoln Logs.
The Merritt family became totally involved. Miss Merritt and 13-year-old Patricia found themselves seeing how many variations could be produced of ranch houses, doll beds, picture frames, chairs, and tables.
Patricia Lear actually remembers testing out a lot of things for Merritt Foods.
The way the bomb pop happened is we'd be sitting around in the den watching television, and everybody would be given some clay, And so we'd be sitting there trying different shapes. What do you think of this? What do you think of that?
Wait, this is a normal thing for your family to do?
Yes,
to hey, everyone have some clay and think about popsicle shapes?
Yes, I'm not kidding.
The Bomb Pop was born in July 1955, which was right in the middle of the Cold War. An arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union, marked by constant threats of nuclear attack. It was a weird time to be a kid. You'd be in school and then all of a sudden have to run a drill, learning to duck and cover under your desk in case a nuclear bomb went off. Because your desk would totally protect you.
We must be ready every day, all the time, to do the right thing if the atomic bomb explodes. Duck and cover. That's the first thing to do. Duck and cover. First, you duck. Then you cover. You duck and cover tight. Duck and cover under the table. It's a bomb. Duck and cover. Duck and cover.
Out of this fight over military dominance formed the space race, the quest to conquer the moon and prove which country was the most technologically advanced. For Americans, the space program gave them something to be proud of, a reason to look up at space with delight, not fear.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Doc Abernathy, always the salesman, leaned into that positive association with their new missile-shaped popsicle.
Like Doc said, we just rode that one. Hey, if you want to call it a rocket, it's a rocket.
But Patricia says that was actually BS.
The bomb pop is literally a bomb because my dad dropped bombs in the war. It's not like it's not like the space race. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's literally a bomb.
Rick gives credit to Jim Merritt, the Army veteran, for coming up with the idea of the bomb pop. But as far as the design of the signature fins, he says that's where Doc Abernathy's engineering background came in really clutch.
He said, you know what we need to do? We need to run the fins completely up the whole length of it. And then not only does it look big, but it freezes faster. And we can run the machines faster and produce more of them.
The fins may seem just like a flourish, but they actually sped up the entire process.
Here it was putting in the juice. That first would be the red, then the white, then the blue. Boom, 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 3 feeders. Then it only moves so many feet, and then you could already stick the sticks in it. It only moves so many feet, and start heating it up.
Suddenly, Rick says they were churning out thousands of bomb pops an hour.
Pull them out, a whole row of them at a time, and drop them in paper bags, and then drop onto the conveyor belt, and the girls would pick them up and box them up.
Interestingly, though, we still don't know exactly when that famous trifecta of red, white, and blue arrived, because bomb pops had so many other flavors at first. There were spice bombs, superstar bombs, candy bombs, bingo bombs, bubblegum bombs, crunch bombs.
The 3-stage fudge was one of my favorites. Chocolate, banana chocolate. I love that one.
Fruity patootie bombs, cowabunga bombs, and directly on the nose here, Acme missile bombs, which was a nod to Looney Tunes. Acme was the unreliable manufacturer behind Wile E. Coyote's gadgets, anvils, and TNT. You know, the ones that always seem to blow up in his face?
Ice cream distributor Dennis Aranio credits the invention of the bomb pop for launching an explosion in the manufacture of ice cream novelties. The red, white, and blue bomb pop was the biggest thing to hit the market in the past 10 years, he says. Kids went crazy over them.
Bombs away!
By the 1970s, Merit Foods was killing it. Their product output multiplied more than 12 times from 1960 to 1970, which attracted the attention of the mega company that owned 7-Eleven.
Southland Corporation at the time was a high-flying New York Stock Exchange traded company, and they wanted our novelty ice cream products, particularly the Bomb Pop.
That's Jim Heater, our stargazing Missourian again. Decades after falling in love with the Bomb Pop in his tiny hometown, he became one of their Kansas City lawyers, negotiating Merit Foods' sale to Southland.
I never meet the people who made Bomb Pops, much less help them sell their company to 7-Eleven. So it was pretty cool.
He said a huge perk of the gig was that once a week, a styrofoam box would show up at his front porch, chock full of dry ice and Bomb Pops.
I probably at some point said, enough, we have a freezer full, no more. But the kids would get obviously very excited about it. And they just thought Daddy had this coolest job ever.
The parent company of 7-Eleven acquiring Merit Foods in 1981 was a huge deal because it meant their novelties ended up in convenience stores across the country. On its way to deep freeze dessert dominance, though, Bomb Pops acquired some enemies.
I find it deplorable that even ice cream comes in forms that suggest the bombing and killing of people is perfectly American, cool, and delicious.
Before the Vietnam War, if you weren't a soldier or their loved one, war may have just been something you'd read about in the newspaper, or see on a movie screen, or hear in radio reports. Then suddenly, war got beamed into your home onto your TV screen all the time. And it infiltrated other aspects of life too, even if you were just a kid.
This is Pleiku, 250 miles north of Saigon, the air base that was ripped by Vietnamese communist guerrillas.
Action figures like G.I. Joe were everywhere.
G.I. Joe, fighting man from head to toe.
In addition to some explosives-obsessed children's games.
Time bomb!
Parents developed very strong feelings about this trend of violent media and entertainment, and the Bomb Pop, that seemingly innocuous popsicle, didn't escape the scrutiny. In fact, to some parents, the Bomb Pop was actually indicative of everything that was wrong with America at that particular moment. Just take these letters to the editor from newspapers around the country.
Maxime Galoob, Ithaca, New York. I am writing with respect to a product that you sell, red, white, and blue popsicles called Bomb Pops. While I've always been happy with the service and products at Purity, I find this particular product very offensive.
Oma Miller, Topeka, Kansas. It is bad enough that people who deplore war must guard their children against war toys and violent TV programs, but now ice cream comes in the shape of an American red, white, and blue bomb that suggests that bombs are not only okay, but taste good.
It seems this woman's son, Johnny, who's 6 years old, came home with 2 of those Bomb Pops. I am ready to scream, she screamed over the telephone. They glorify everything.
Obviously, I will not allow my children to purchase such, quote, food again, but I wonder if other parents are aware of these ice creams.
I think it's necessary for all of us to take responsibility for teaching children what is right. Certainly, equating war and ice cream is not in this effort.
Another person spending a lot of time thinking about Bomb Pops in the early 1970s was Steve Chin.
I'm a retired 79-year-old former lawyer, married to my wife, Marty, of 58 years.
During the summers he wasn't in law school, Steve worked at the Bomb Pop factory in Kansas City's East Bottoms.
My brother and I both worked there. What we would do is fill orders. We'd get an order sheet. We'd go around and we'd locate that type of bomb pop, and then we'd load it onto a truck.
But since it was a popsicle factory, the warehouse was kept rather chilly.
Very, very cold.
It's got to be 60 degrees below zero in front of the blowers and about 20 degrees below zero generally around the rest of the cooler.
That's Bomb Pop co-founder Doc Abernathy's son, Rick, again. In addition to the 600,000 dozen or so frozen treats stored at the plant, Southland Corporation says more than 1 million dozen were housed in cool natural limestone caves nearby, as deep as 10 miles underground.
You'd have to dress very, very warmly, and this was during the summer, of course.
Despite that, Steve enjoyed working at the factory. He got free bomb pops that he could bring home to his kids, and it was the kind of job that gave Steve a lot of time to think and reflect, in particular on the time he had recently spent in the Army, overseas, fighting the war in Vietnam.
I grew up in Johnson County, so I had a pretty vanilla life at that point in my life. My parents were Republicans, and so I went over there thinking that this was a patriotic thing for me to be doing. A lot of people have horrible memories of Vietnam. Fortunately, I made some really, really, really outstanding friends. In that kind of situation, relationships can be really, really strong.
While he was serving in Vietnam, Steve didn't think much about whether or not he should be there. Once he got back, though, Steve found himself picking up box after box of patriotic popsicles shaped like weapons. And they made him see his role in a different light.
I just knew that we were there under false pretenses. I realized that. It wasn't probably until I got back that I really was able to process intellectually what was going on.
Jim Merritt, the other creator of the Bomb Pop, was thinking about Vietnam a lot too. Here's his daughter, Patricia Lear, again.
He wanted to talk to me about the Vietnam War because I was in college, but I had nothing intelligent to say other than, obviously it's bad, we shouldn't be there.
In 1972, Doc Abernathy told a reporter he had personally received around 30 letters from Moms for Peace and other advocacy groups, all complaining about the bomb pop. Jim Merritt died back in 1970, so he wasn't around to defend his product. But Doc maintained that the bomb pop was just a popsicle to them. Doc told the same reporter that at Merritt Foods, they, quote, think of them as bombs for peace, not war. All in all, the bomb pop survived the Vietnam War and the Cold War. And today, it's far outgrown its Kansas City roots. The original bomb pop is now made by Wells Enterprises, a family-owned ice cream manufacturer out of Lamars, Iowa. And it comes in more than a dozen tri-colored flavors. Nerds, Hawaiian Punch, Shrek. Not to mention, you've got your bomb pop imitators like Freedom Pops and Firecrackers. Bomb Pop stopped being manufactured here in 1991, when Southland Corporation closed down its Merritt Foods subsidiary. Doc Abernathy, however, lived the rest of his life in Kansas City. He died in 1994 at age 73.
Doc was the life of the party. I remember at his funeral, I think we had 8 inches of snow, and you couldn't get into the funeral home. I mean, there were so many people there.
That checks out. What's trudging through some ice to honor one of the most prolific ice cream inventors of all time? Doc's frozen treat portfolio had a lot more than the bomb pop. He was constantly sketching out ideas. We can thank him for the Dole frozen dessert bars, in addition to novelties in the shape of the Pink Panther and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the slightly unconventional pink ice cream bar known as Froze Toes.
And it was like a big foot, and then on the big toe he put a bubblegum ball.
Plus some left field pitches you may never have heard of.
He came home one time and he says, oh, I got this great idea. What is it, Doc? And he says, you like Hostess Twinkies, don't you? I said, yeah, I love them. And he says, what do you think about a Hostess Twinkie and we put ice cream in the center of it? And I said, well, that sounds intriguing.
So Doc talked to Hostess, got the rights, and manufactured a whole bunch of them. Then
they put the ice cream in them and they took them to kids and they'd bite into them and about break their teeth.
Total flop. My personal favorite of Doc's inventions was the UFO, the unidentified frozen object. Ice cream trucks across America advertise it as a munchable module of chocolate-smothered vanilla ice cream sandwiched between a pair of oatmeal cookies. No matter what Doc or Jim invented, though, Patricia admits they never came up with anything stickier than the Bomb Pop, which ultimately did grow into something a lot bigger than a popsicle, for better or for worse.
What struck me is when it hit big 10 years ago or 15 years ago, when I started seeing it in Gap ads, in Fendi ads, and Neiman Marcus ads, and when it hit as this giant symbol of Americana summer, that just blew my mind. And I was thinking my dad he wouldn't believe how big this thing's gotten. I kind of feel when I see them all over the place, this is my dad, reaching out to me and, making sure I know he's still there, he's still around me. I'm so friggin' proud of my dad.
This episode of A People's History of Kansas City was reported, produced, and mixed by me, Mackenzie Martin. Editing by Suzanne Hogan and Gabe Rosenberg. You heard audio from Kevin Luce, Universal Studios, NASA, the University of Iowa, Gregor Quendel, The Sandlot, RKO Radio Pictures, Memphis Slim, Willie Nix, Percy Faith and his orchestra, Looney Tunes, and Blue Dot Sessions. Special thanks this episode to my colleagues Byron Love, Martha Atlas, and Madeline Fox for reading those newspaper articles so enthusiastically. We are a production of KCUR Studios, a podcast network in Kansas City. And on behalf of all of us, I would really love to wish you a happy National Bomb Pop Day, which is always the last Thursday in June. And you may be surprised how many people celebrate.
Who was it? The big singer, the one all the young girls like, who's with the football star?
Taylor Swift?
Taylor Swift. Oh, there's pictures of Taylor Swift with her favorite Bomb Pop. Have you seen that?
If you like this podcast, please consider writing us a review or sharing it with a friend. We also love hearing from you. You can hit us up on Instagram at KC People's History. And if you want to support this work, the best way to do that is to become a member of our radio station, KCUR. Just go to kcur.org, and thank you so much. We'll be back next month with another episode about the underdogs and renegades who continue to make Kansas City and the region what it is. Until then, I'm Mackenzie Martin. Thank you so much for listening.